Okay, well, this is the second in our series of chats with some of the former players, and it's great to be able to welcome Steve Holden, who coincidentally is celebrating his birthday today. So it's great to be able to do that. So happy birthday, Steve, before we start.
Cheers, Rob. Thank you.
No problem. Steve has a fantastic record. I spoke to him a few days ago just to chat about this. He was being very modest, really. He didn't realize he was one of our best strike rate players, and he's fourth in line in the Southport strike rate list. And I think we'll leave the Southport fans to name the other three that come before you, Steve. But you did have a fantastic record, and you joined the club in December '89, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. What was you? Where were you before you came to Southport?
I had a short spell at Morecambe, but it wasn't working out too well. And I played with Brian Kettle at South Liverpool and Runcorn. But I'm still not sure, I'm being honest, in the present day, why he rang me up or how it all came about. But he did what he did. He rang me up, and obviously I was quite happy to come down, and I enjoyed my time there.
Yeah, yeah. What was your? Obviously, you played. You scored on your debut, didn't you, Steve? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you went on to score in your first 4 league games.
I don't know. Maybe not. Now you're saying that, it does sort of ring a bell hazily.
Yeah, we've got a little note that says you did, and I think I can't find any other players that have done that. So that's pretty good going.
It was a bit strange, really, because on the team bus on the way to Bangor, the players who obviously had only just met were all talking and saying, well, who wants to take penalties today? And no one was volunteering. So I said, well, I don't mind taking them. But obviously, being Southport, not knowing the players too well, Southport were notorious for getting a lot of penalties. Especially when we had Alan MacDonald and Steve Whitehall up front at the same time.
But were they good for getting the penalties for you, were they?
Oh, unbelievable. What a pair of players.
Yeah, you played alongside Steve Whitehall quite a bit, didn't you? And one of my biggest memories of you playing was in the cup final at Main Road.
Yeah, Buxton, yeah.
You had a fantastic game, the pair of you, that day, didn't you?
Yeah, I think it's a bit bizarre, but they kicked off, and I think we scored after 58 seconds. And that included having a goal kick. But I remember going in with the keeper, Jim MacDonald, and volleying the ball at the same time he was trying to catch it. And obviously cleared the line, and I thought, well, they're never going to give that. They're going to give a free kick to the goalkeeper. Obviously, the referee turned around and whistled for goal. So that kind of set the game then. Once we got 1-0 up, they were never coming back in the game, and that was only after a minute.
Yeah.
I remember Steve Whitehall got a couple of goals, and I think I got 2 as well.
Yeah. Well, what's your best memory of your time at Southport then, Steve?
I just think the team we had, certainly in the second season, it was like total football. It was a bit like the Dutch team in the 70s. No one particularly played in a sort of simple area. They all intermingled. You know, sometimes I could be right back, centre half.
Yeah.
You know, your left back could be on the right wing. We were just all over the place, but we were comfy at what we did. You know, we had a good footballing team. We had some absolute brilliant class players. Absolutely superb to play with.
Yeah. Which ones do you particularly remember playing alongside?
Well, obviously Steve Whitehall.
Yeah.
Alan MacDonald came in, and I'm fairly confident he made his debut round Easter playing against Marine at Hague Avenue. And he scored on his debut, so straight away, obviously he's a hero.
Yeah.
And to be fair, he was a tremendous player. He had a great engine. He was up and down. He scored his goals, but he was a great footballer. He had a good brain.
Yeah, he's quite a character as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Old Tintin. He'll not thank me for saying this, but old Tintin.
Is that what you called him?
Yeah, Tintin.
Yeah. But before you came to Southport, I think you did play for quite a few other clubs, didn't you, Stephen? If I'm not mistaken, still in New Zealand as well.
I did, yeah.
What was that
started like? Off New Zealand. I loved it. I was actually going to go back, but I never made it back there. That was in 1988. I think just before I went to New Zealand, I was playing for Fleetwood, and we won the Northern Premier League First Division. And then 2 of us went out to New Zealand playing for Takapuna City in Auckland, and we won the league out there. So in the space of 5 months, I won the league in both hemispheres.
Right, yeah.
But back in those days, they had playoffs well before they occurred in our country. And I said, right, we've won the league, I'm going home. What about the playoffs? Well, no one explained to me how important the playoffs were. It wasn't about winning the league. It was about winning the playoffs at the end of the season.
Right.
So they let me go about my business and go home, and they got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs.
Right.
That was a bit sad. But
how long are you actually over there for, Steve?
5 months.
Yeah. How did that come about? How did that come about that you got over there?
Well, a lad that I played at Fleetwood, our captain, Mick Strachan, and that's another. We had Mickey Strachan, who was 21, 22, our captain. Same as Stewie Bimson, he was one of the youngest captains ever.
Right, yeah.
I think he was 21 when he was captain of Southport.
Yeah.
And there's a bloke had emigrated from New Zealand in the 70s, and he'd come home to Fleetwood to watch the game. Got talking to Mick Strachan and said, "You fancy coming out to New Zealand? And do you know anybody else that will come with you?" Well, at the time, I was sort of 50-50 emigrating to Australia. So it was quite an easy thing for me to say, well, I'll go, have a good look around and see where we go from there. I think he went out in March, but I stayed till the end of the season because we won the league.
Yeah.
But he committed to going out in March, so I went out in May. But yeah, it was a tremendous experience.
Yeah. Would you have liked to stay over there at all?
I think part of me will always be over there, if I'm being honest about it. Yeah, it's a beautiful place. I enjoyed my time there.
Yeah.
But I'd met my wife just before I went out, and I came home and we got married, and we're still together now. So 33 years.
Something must have gone right then.
Well, I think she's put up with a lot.
Lovely. What would you say was the highlight of your overall career, Steve?
I think the highlight of my career was being lucky enough to play for Southport, which enabled me to play for Liverpool reserves the following season.
Oh, right, yeah.
And being a Liverpool fan and getting to play for Liverpool at Anfield was just absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I was never bothered about playing at Wembley because I'd been on a trip there when I was younger. I'd been there with Runcorn, and I just thought Wembley was an old dump. I was more interested in playing in the Premier League grounds, or as they are now.
Yeah.
Playing on the big local grounds. So yeah, I was lucky enough to play for Liverpool. It was a good night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's excellent, isn't it? Yeah. And as well as since you've left football, what have you been involved in?
I don't watch football on telly. Very rare. I might watch the odd 10 minutes here and there. I don't really follow it anymore. But yeah. I tend to play. I play a lot of darts. So I've got my own business that I work in. I play darts, although obviously no one's playing competitive darts at the moment apart from the professionals. So we're kind of looking forward to the next few months where we might start getting back to playing Super League.
Yeah.
And I actually met Steve Porter last year in Southport. We were playing in Southport and he came over to see me.
Right, yeah.
So we stayed in touch. I hadn't seen much of him, but we stayed in touch over the years.
Have you kept in touch with any of the players you played with when you were at Southport?
Kev Mooney, we're still in touch. We have a little bit of joking a bit here and there on the internet.
Yeah.
He was, he's 61 and still playing football.
Yeah, he's in the British veterans team, isn't he, or something, I think?
Yeah, absolutely incredible. Kev was a great player. He was years ahead of his time.
Yeah.
I think he obviously had been at Tranmere and he took over as manager of Bangor City when he was 28, which you don't appreciate how hard it is to manage a club until you try yourself.
Yeah.
And when you realise that he was a player manager at that level of football, that was some achievement.
Yeah.
And still be playing now is just ridiculous. He should retire gracefully at his age.
Not fancy it yourself?
I'd be lucky if I could walk to end of the street, never mind run around playing football.
You're brought to the club by Brian Kettle. Now, Brian Kettle, interesting character, I'm sure you found while he was at the club. So tell us a bit about Brian.
Ket's just after us a brush. What a talent on the pitch. He played fullback and he could kick with either foot, but he could do the same with either foot. He could drill a ball 70, 80 yards with either foot and you'd never know which was his natural side.
Yeah.
I think when he was at Liverpool, and I think I've heard this from more than one Liverpool player, back in those days, it was like 13, 14 first team man squad. Nobody ever got injured.
Right.
So the reserves stayed in the reserves for years and never got into the first team. And it was a very, very good coach. Mostly, I think he had us playing five-a-side and one-touch football, which was, probably that helped the way we played. So yeah, it was good.
I think it did come as a bit of a surprise to everybody when you left the club. You had a fantastic record, didn't you, while you were with us? And I've spoken to a few people telling me I was going to do this, and he said, try and find out when he left. Now, we don't want to go into all the details if you don't want to, but it was a bit of a surprise, and a few people have been disappointed when you left, Steve.
I think at the time, without going into too much detail, I felt a little bit let down at the club, but I think statistics will show that 7 first-team players left at the end of that season, which would, without actually saying too much about it, it's quite apparent that there was a problem at the club.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think Stewie Bimson and Steve Whitehall went full-time, and then 5 more of us left. So it's just a bit unfortunate, but it's just the way it was. I can't turn back the clock.
No.
If I could, I would probably never have left.
Yeah.
It's I really enjoyed my short period at the club.
Yeah. Well, I think the fans enjoyed it, and as I say, you in total, I don't know if you realise your total goals total was 47. Can you remember any of them in particular?
I'm struggling to recollect a lot of goals. Having said that, I think out of 47, 16 were penalties, 14 were penalties.
Oh, right. Well, we don't have to tell everybody that, Steve. We can keep that quiet. But it was a phenomenal strike rate, because penalties still need to be scored, don't they?
Yeah. I can remember scoring 1 goal at Southport. I can't remember who it was against. But I remember hitting a shot from maybe 25, 30 yards. It hit the crossbar.
Yeah.
Came back out past me. And I was sulking because it hadn't gone in.
Yeah.
And as I was stood around sulking, someone went down the left wing, crossed it, and I volleyed it in with my left foot. And it went in the top corner. Now, if I hadn't been sulking, that ball would never have gone in the net.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've got quite a lot of records, because you've also on our hat trick list. You got a hat trick at Hyde, didn't you? I think you remember that one.
Yeah. I had 2 penalties at Hyde and complimentary goals to go with them for the hat trick. In fact,
I'm too modest, mate.
I've still probably got that match ball, because it was in those days you didn't really get a match ball signed, but I'm sure it was Alan MacDonald went and grabbed the ball off the referee and brought it in the dressing room. Yeah. And
they all signed it for you.
Yeah.
Yes, as I say, you also got the record for scoring in the first 4 games, which you sound like you didn't know that one. So no. And you were one of the players that came back to our player reunion, weren't you? It was about 10 years ago now. I don't know if you remember coming.
Yeah, I did the one in 91, 2001, and 2011. I've done all 3.
Yeah.
In fact, was there any before that?
I think they've done them from 81, 91, 01, and 11, haven't they? Obviously,
right. Because they left the Football League in 78, didn't they?
Yeah. We're a bit stuck this year because of certain things, needless to say, so we're not sure what's happening this year, so we might have to put that back. But do you think it's important to have these former players associations?
I think it's fantastic, because the camaraderie that you have as a player, I think most players will tell you the same. You don't miss the football, you miss the dressing room.
Yeah.
And we've got back together on occasions, and you wouldn't know we'd been apart for 10, 15 years.
Really?
Yeah, you just slot back into how you were. And it's good. It's good camaraderie.
Yeah. So going back to your time when you left Southport, then who did you join straight after leaving Southport? I
went back to Morecambe. Yeah. And I think at the time we had a reasonably good season, but I think that year I scored 39 goals.
For Morecambe?
Yeah, and not one penalty, because we had a certain Mr. Coleman in the team.
Oh, did you play alongside John?
Yeah. Great. What a goal scorer! I mean, I played alongside Spike Carter at Runcorn. He was a top goal scorer.
Yeah.
But I think Coley finished up with 5,500 career goals. I think he said.
It was phenomenal, wasn't it?
I think he broke his leg in the last season I was there. He came back in March, and I think he still got 18 or 20 goals.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was absolutely incredible.
Yeah. He's one of the players with a better strike rate than you. I hate to tell you, Steve.
I think he'd have a better strike rate than probably anybody in the country.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal. I used to love it, because if I was out wide, I'd sling the ball in the box knowing that 9 times out of 10, he'd be on the end of it.
Right.
No hesitation. You play at some clubs and you'd be looking for someone to get in the area to cross the ball to. But Coley, not a problem.
Yeah.
The guy was deadly.
Yeah. So between you that season, how many did you score between you then? Can you remember?
I think he got mid-20s.
Yeah.
So about 64, I think it was, something like maybe.
Yeah. And that was a successful side.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. We didn't win anything that year, but I think the year after we won the President's Cup.
Yeah.
And I think to qualify for the President's Cup, if I remember rightly, you had to be in the top 6.
Uh-huh.
And then it was a home and away basis.
Yeah.
And Stalybridge at the time had a fantastic team. Boring. Yeah, they had Phil Wilson, who I think he managed Southport for a while, didn't he?
Managed us, yeah.
Yeah, he had them playing with man-to-man marking.
Uh-huh.
They were fit, very fit team, but just horrible to play against.
Yeah.
And we managed to turn them over both legs, home and away.
Uh-huh.
But I think that year they won the league and got promoted to the conference.
Yeah. And I think you had a bit of time at Fleetwood.
I started at Fleetwood, but I never went back there. Yeah. I think I had about a season and a half there.
And
we won the.
Sorry.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, we won. I think I went to the back end of the season, 86, 87. And then 87, 88, it was a new Northern Premier League First Division. We won that, which was quite an achievement. And then the following season, I came back, I think it was the end of September from New Zealand. And to be honest, I had a lot of injuries. I think I played non-stop for 2 years. And it took its toll on me. So that season didn't work out too well for me. And then the manager, Los Milligan, he left to go to Morecambe in the summer. And I think 8 or 9 of us left Fleetwood, went to Morecambe. And it just wasn't working out. I wasn't enjoying my football. So the chance to go to Southport. And at the time, I think Southport were in maybe the bottom 6.
Yeah, yeah.
But just knowing a couple of people there, I think Dave Mather was there.
Uh-huh.
Ozzie Smith, who had both played with both at Runcorn. Steve Joel, who was at Runcorn with us. Andy Welsh, who I'd played junior football with.
Right.
Who was high up in the coaching scene. So I knew a few players, so it wasn't a difficult decision to get away from Morecambe and come to Southport.
Yeah. So you certainly didn't have any regrets about joining Southport?
None at all. I have regrets about leaving and will to the day I die.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to my dad recently and he said, you should never have left.
Really?
I said, no. Yeah. He said, you loved it there. I said, I did. But, pig-headed. At the end of the day, if I made a decision, I always stood by it.
Yeah.
I decided I was going around Christmas, and we kind of, as players, we all agreed to stick together till the end of the season. And obviously, we got to 3 cup finals, won 2, and lost the 3rd one to Dover in the Intercity Trophy, which was the only year they held that competition.
That's right. Yeah.
Between the 3 conference feeder leagues. So I think the decisions were vindicated. We stuck together, got the siege mentality, and had a great run into the end of the season.
It was fantastic, that run, wasn't it? Because as well as the one at Main Road, I think you played in the one in the Liverpool
Goodison.
Cup at Goodison, didn't you?
Yeah, we beat Marine 4-0.
And who scored 2 of the goals?
Well, I was talking to a mate of mine today. I'm listed for 2, but if the dubious goals panel was about in that day and age, there wouldn't have been a prayer on one of them. I think about 5 or 6 of us went for a ball in the area and it ended up in the goals. And I'm thinking, I may have had a touch at some point, but there's no way I put that in there.
You're being very modest, Steve, today. I have to be honest, you've been very modest. Tell us a story about when you went back to Fleetwood. What happened then the day you went back to Fleetwood?
On my way back from New Zealand, I went back to Fleetwood. I think I got back, Thursday night. And on the Saturday, it was either that Saturday or the following Saturday, we played Marine in the, I think it was the FA Cup. And I ended up having a right set to with Keith Johnson,
yeah,
who after that became a great mate of mine. In fact, I'm still in touch with Keith now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we never actually played in the same team, but we had a good rivalry between us, between him at Marine and myself at Southport. And obviously when I left, I went to Morecambe. Yeah, so it's nice.
And I think when Southport played Fleetwood, you went as a Southport fan, if I remember rightly, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I was invited to sit in the stand to watch the game, and I sat with the Southport contingent. And Andy Pillett, Fleetwood chairman, walked past, and he says, hang on, why are you sat with them, Steve? What could I say? No, I couldn't tell him why. Yeah.
But Southport's always been your team, hasn't it?
It has, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, good. Tell us a bit more about some of the characters in the dressing room then from your time when you were at Southport. You talk about Alan MacDonald, who I think everybody knows was just totally away with it. I'm sure there must have been some others.
We had a team full. We had Steve Farrelly was in goals when I got there, and his brother Phil had broken his leg. When Steve left, Paul Moore came in. What a character!
You can't get more of a character than him.
Absolute crazy man. I think I met Morsey originally when he was at Worcester, and he was brilliant. Very, very underrated keeper. And then obviously centre half we had Bob Howard.
Yeah.
I think the first year we had Dave O'Brien with him. Second year Kev Mooney. And then I think obviously Alan MacDonald on the right, Ozzy in the middle with John Bishop,
right? Yeah.
Who I actually played at Runcorn with John when he was 18.
What was he like to play with at that stage?
He was just, well, if the ball was there and a player was there, he wouldn't see the player.
Right.
Yeah. He would take the ball if there was a player in the way. That was just unfortunate.
Yeah.
He wasn't dirty. He was just solid. But I think at the end of the first season, we went to Rill, the last game of the season.
Yeah.
And he said, right, we're going in fancy dress. So I'm thinking to myself, I've never worn fancy dress in my life. There's no way I'm turning up in fancy dress. So I turned up in my collar, Southport jacket, Southport tie. And so did everybody else apart from Bish, who turned up as Elvish with big carpet sideburns, the white sequined outfit, which I'm pretty sure is the same one he's still wearing.
Really?
I remember we went into the bar pre-match, and the bar had the bar was like a central bar to two rooms. Bish walked between the two rooms, and the landlord turned around and said, "You can't do it. You can't come through here. Not allowed." He says, "Why not?" He says, "Well, you're not." He said, "You can't tell me what to do. I've been dead 30 years."
So he had the humour then, did he, as well?
He did, yeah, definitely, yeah. And I think that season, Dave Gamble was breaking through.
Yeah.
He became an absolute legend. He struggled a bit in his first season, but if I remember, he was only about 18, 19.
Yeah.
And at that age to be playing at that level was quite an achievement anyway. I think as we all left, he became a mainstay of the team.
Yeah.
And I think the team revolved around Dave for a few years.
Yeah.
He was just pure quality. I think also we had Kev Johnson in midfield with us. And I think up front for a spell, there was obviously myself, Steve Whitehall and Tony Livens. And Tony probably came because he was at Bangor with Kev Mooney. So I'm guessing that was the link that brought him over to Southport.
Right, yeah.
And he was quite a good scorer. And obviously another good character, absolute crazy man, Reg Maguire.
Yeah?
Yeah, Reg. Love him. You couldn't fall out with Reg, but he could wind people up. He really could he could cause trouble. He could cause trouble in an empty room. Absolute brilliant laugh. Obviously, Davey Mather. Tony Quinn was another one. Great player.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. He was there first year. And he just seemed to glide around the pitch. It was effortless for him. It was like, he probably looked to people like he wasn't trying. And another tremendous player who, for me, was Jonathan Clark.
Right, yeah.
He played centre midfield for us, obviously, but I think as a youth, it was Tommy Docherty's last signing for United, and I'm fairly sure I'm sure he'd been at Morecambe at some point.
Uh-huh.
We got him at Southport, and he was brilliant. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant, effortless.
I think after those early non-league days, we struggled, haven't we? But I think that season, the first season you were there, it was just building up, wasn't it, into something a bit better than what we'd had in the past. Did you feel that at the time? I
don't think we did. I think that first season we got on a fairly good run, won a few games, climbed up the league, got away from relegation. But I think it was the people he brought in the summer, the extra players that came in, and obviously Alan MacDonald during the season.
Yeah.
And it just seemed to gel together. And it was a great team to play in.
Yeah.
Everyone did their bit.
Yeah.
I don't think there was anyone who was a standout. You get, obviously, you go to some clubs and you always get someone with a big ego.
Yeah.
You look at me, I'm the main man. That team didn't have anybody like that.
Right.
That team was just, it was a team. It was a proper team.
Do you think Brian Kettle harnessed that at all Thursday?
And I wouldn't like to say yes or no. If he did, he was very lucky.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you could just be lucky with. He obviously knew a lot of people. He knew a lot of players. So you don't sign an idiot who's going to be a troublemaker in the dressing room, because that's just pointless. So I think he knew the kind of players that he was signing. He knew what the character was like. And he didn't necessarily always sign someone who was a great superstar in the league, but they'd come into our team and just slot in and look like they'd been there for years.
Yeah.
The players that came into our team didn't take sort of 6, 8, 10 games to settle in. They did it straight away.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, I played with some good players over 10, 15 years, but that team was probably as good as any team I ever played in.
Yeah. If you had to pinpoint one player, then who would you say was the best one you ever played with?
What, in that team or just in general?
In your whole career?
Ooh, that's a great question. I've been asked this one before. I would have to say probably Ian Kane.
Yeah?
Yeah. I played with him at Fleetwood. We went to Morecambe. He went to Morecambe's largest sign at the time, £7,500. We all left. He stayed. We came back. And I think in the last season, he played every single position on the pitch, apart from goalkeeper.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, he could play anywhere. Great footballing brain.
Yeah.
Played with some great players, but I think I would have to pick him out of the bunch.
Out of all the ones you played with, he's the pick, is he?
Yeah. I mean, I played, obviously, when I played in New Zealand, we had a few of the players that we played with there had played in the World Cup. I think it was 84, because I was there in 88. And we had a player in the team there, and he was the same. He centre midfield player. There was 3 brothers, Mark, Barry, and Kev Weymouth. And Kev looked like he wasn't trying, but he couldn't half get around the pitch. And when he played, the team played.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely great player.
What was the standard like in New Zealand, Steve?
I likened it at the time to maybe First Division Northwest Counties.
Right.
That's possibly being a bit harsh.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of Northern Premier League players. I didn't play in the National League. I played in the Feeder League. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of ex-Northern Premier League players that played at that level who'd gone out to maybe play for a season and stayed there. Kev Lawler, I remember him being out there.
Yeah.
I can't remember the names of the others, but there was a few players out there.
Yeah. Cool. Do you think that from when you were playing to what you see now, at our level, this standard, there's been a big change?
I think there's been a massive change. I think we played football on the ground where a lot of teams would kick the ball. And I think towards the end of my career, 36, even teams in the amateur league were keeping the ball on the ground and playing football. And I think the general thing is now, you could look at Arsenal and say they try and pass the ball in the net, and no one seems to want to shoot.
Yeah.
I was always taught, if you don't shoot, you don't score.
Yeah.
We look at the way they play now. Yeah, they do play great football, but the fans want to see the ball in the net. They don't go to see 150 passes. They want the ball in the area and someone sticking it in the net with, big tussle in the area, ball bouncing everywhere, a bit like the old Wimbledon days, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
You never saw a boring Wimbledon game, did you?
No.
But you can see some of the games now and they're just boring.
Yeah. You came up through sort of junior clubs, didn't you, and played all your career around that level. And did you feel quite a pride to play for some of these teams?
I enjoyed where I played.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be a pro. It never quite worked out for me. But I did find out after I finished playing that 5 or 6 clubs had tried to sign me, but were obviously put off by the price.
You were priced out the market, were you?
Well, I didn't know nothing about it at the time.
Really?
So effectively, clubs that I were at stopped me becoming a pro footballer just by not letting me go.
Did you have agents in those days?
No.
No.
I've bumped into players who've got agents now who've never even had a game of football. I'm saying to them, you need to get yourself out on the pitch and play a few games before you start signing agents.
Yeah.
It's not all about agents. It's about getting your name spread around and playing the game.
Yeah.
You can have as many agents as you want, but if you're not playing any games, no one's going to come and sign you.
No. So did you think you fulfilled your dream playing football?
I enjoyed myself, but when I got to, I think I was 31, I packed in.
Yeah.
I packed in for 12 months. I walked away. I just had enough. I'd done it for 10 years solid, day in, day out, worked on my own business, trained every night on my own. And I kind of hit a wall. And at the time I was going to Singapore and it all fell through. And that was, I had no affinity with the game. I just didn't want to play.
Yeah.
So I came back after 12 months, had a play at it, didn't last long. Came back at the end of the season and started playing West Lancashire football with my best man. He was manager there, Steve Edwards. And I turned into a sweeper, which I had to learn to play because I'd never played in defence in my life.
Yeah.
And the thing it did, I had to concentrate for 90 minutes and organise the team. Where when I played up front, I probably concentrated for 5 minutes and switched And if any striker tells you to concentrate for a whole match, I'm pretty sure they're lying. Yeah.
So it was a lot harder playing at the back, was it?
Oh, a lot harder, yeah. You've got to be on your toes for the whole 90 minutes. Whereas up front, you can switch off, mind your own business, and without any warning, turn around, sprint off and score a goal. Yeah. And all everyone will remember is the fact you've just scored that goal.
Yeah.
They won't remember that you were lazy and did nothing for 85 minutes.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying I was ever lazy, but people, you don't have to concentrate the same up front that you do at the back.
Yeah, well, with your record, I don't think anybody would ever say you were lazy, Steve, because it's a phenomenal scoring record. And you have been very modest, but some of the records you hold up, you should cherish at Southport because we do value all the players that have put in that effort for us and put in the goals. So we certainly enjoyed your time there.
Yeah, I enjoyed myself there.
Yeah.
I don't remember any player ever being in a position where they weren't happy with the way we played football.
Yeah. Because
it was a joy to play in that team.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Well, thank you very much for your time. We'll be, as I say, we can hope you enjoy the rest of your birthday. And it's great to have you on. And you'll keep in touch. Will you come back to some of the players?
I will do, yeah.
Them and we do have this session where we try and get somebody in the lounge to come and talk to the fans. So if ever you fancy that, we'd welcome you back to Southport.
That has been spoken about before, but it hasn't really come to fruition with the last few years I've been.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I will do that. Given the
chance. Get you an invite for one of the games next season when we're up and running properly and the football's back on.
Well, we can only keep our fingers crossed the way things are at the moment.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks very much, Steve.
Cheers, Rob. Thanks a lot.